that you pay on that, even if you don't pay income tax, you're still paying the salary for that person, and that person is getting paid to represent you, even if you did not vote for that person. Therefore, you have an issue, you need to bring it in front of that person. They don't. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that whatever problems they have, they're just going to have to live with the problem. So when we go door knocking, we educate people, we tell them who is responsible for what, and we give them our telephone numbers, our email addresses. If you have any questions about anything else, even if it's not what we do, please contact us, because a lot of it has to do with education. And people know, what do they say? People don't know how much you care until people don't care what you know until they know you care. And by going to knock on their door, a door that has never been knocked on by anybody else running for office, they know that you care, and that's why you're in their neighborhood.
We used to have, and as you're talking, and Bernice, you and Marilyn are in the same issue of one of my heroes, and I know this is one of yours, Marilyn, of George Thurgood Marshall, is that when you're going down to the South and you have to educate people about their rights, right? This is a legal issue, their rights, and how we're going to take this to court and how we're going to represent you. You being a circuit court judge, you're not representing anyone anymore, but you are listening to cases. And then in Bernice, you're not representing anyone, but you are listening to cases. But you are going to say, I'm listening to this through fairly and judgment eyes. I'm not judging you as a person. I'm judging you on the crime. Isn't that a different concept when you're talking to people from door to door, Bernice?
Well, first I would say,
Bernice, before you answer, we're going to take a really, really quick break.
Okay, great.
Break. We're on so many other social medias. There is no break. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. These people are either going through swipe left or right. These people don't got no damn breaks.
I know, but before we have to take a real quick break, only because we get everything all pulled together again.
Oh, okay. We'll keep talking. You can take a break, but we're going to keep talking.
All right, so I want to take a real quick. He's going to show a video, so we're going to take a real quick, because the video is going to be showing. Okay. So we're going to take a real quick. Save your thoughts, Bernice, and remember, we're going to get back to that percent. If anyone does know the percents of how many people are voting, of that, of those how many can vote. So we can get some of these numbers so we can do door knocking effectively.
Okay. Is this our break?
Yeah, this is our break.
Okay.
Well, we're not really breaking.
In today's world, video is the most effective content. In 2021 alone, 80% of all content consumed by users was video. If today you don't make video about yourself, about your product, you're losing positions in your business. Afrique Today production invites you to create a video of any complexity. Are you an aspiring blogger, artist, musician, and you want to surprise your audience? Or are you an ordinary person and want to create a family story? Then our team will be able to create a video for you with unique quality, reported shooting, individual shooting, studio shooting, entertainment videos, corporate events. All this we can do for you in the best quality. Just call now and get a 30% discount at 571-612-0496. 571-612-0496. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. We are live every Sunday at 3 p.m. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
In today's world, video is the most effective content. In 2021 alone, 80% of all content consumed by users was video. If today you don't make video about yourself, about your product, you're losing positions in your business. Afrique Today production invites you to create a video of any complexity. Are you an aspiring blogger, artist, musician, and you want to surprise your audience? Or are you an ordinary person and want to create a family story? Then our team will be able to create a video for you with unique quality, reported shooting, individual shooting, studio shooting, entertainment videos, corporate events. All this we can do for you in the best quality. Just call now and get a 30% discount at 571-612-0496. 571-612-0496. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. We are live every Sunday at 3 p.m. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook.
I think everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got. With the echo.
Let me kind of. All right, can
Back
you hear
on?
me now?
Look, you're perfect. You sounded like The Weeknd in concert.
I know I can't hear you guys. I am trying to get my I'm having technical issues on this side, so I'm trying to get it all together. So do forgive me. I can't see you
What
guys
did you
right now. I don't know if you can
What
see
did you
me.
do that the FBI is trying to disable you? What did you do? If you can tell us now, you can tell us later. We got to know what are you doing that the FBI has got you under surveillance?
I don't know.
Is it your trips to Ghana?
Let me tell you, it must be my trips to Ghana. And you remember, I was always up on Capitol Hill lobbying for LULAC, and not understanding why NAACP didn't do some of those things. Some of our other Black representatives, because the Latinos got it together. We do not, and we have to somehow organize ourselves and get it together. And all the discussions we were talking about voting, and I'll tell you, everyone on here, remember when President Obama ran? People who had never voted before came out and voted.
They were voting for their Black Jesus. That was such a phenomenon. First of all, it was too phenomenon for you can even count that as an election. It was too weird. People voted for him just to make him the first Black president, and they could care less about what his policies were or what his position was. They didn't care.
That's true.
They really didn't care.
Well, you give them a reason to come out and vote.
Right. And he was good looking.
Well, I don't know. That reason was to be the first Black, but in some aspect, we haven't had anything like that again. Even with Kamala, we have not had that again. And
Kamala
how
who?
can we effectively make a difference?
Kamala.
Now,
Kamala who? Kamala who? Kamala who? You talking about the person that's supposed to be a vice president that we haven't heard from since election?
I know.
Are you talking about her?
Well,
It's a topic for another day.
Well, you know what?
Topic for another day, but don't forget, it's not the Kamala Harris administration. It's
Right.
Our Biden administration.
You better tell it, girl. You better tell it.
So I'm just saying.
Bernice, we left off. Hold on. We left off at Bernice about voting. How do you get people out to vote?
Okay.
Yes, but Bernice, if you don't mind, because Dr. Dyer brought up my favorite person, beside him, of course, and everybody else in here, Thurgood Marshall. And I have to point out that Thurgood Marshall went to Howard University School of Law, so he's a bison. So did Bernice, and so did I. So we've got 3 bisons over here. And you have Kamala Harris, who went to Howard for undergrad, so she's sort of kind of a bison, but not law school bison.
Now, I worked at Howard. I didn't go to school there, but I practiced medicine at Howard.
We will take you.
I went to the bathroom in Howard. I went to the bathroom
Really?
in Howard.
Well, we'll take
Go
you
to the A building.
Fatma, is there a reason why we should also take you? We're all bisons. We're honorary
Well,
bisons.
let's put it this way. I'm a HBCU, a Rattler for life.
Woohoo.
Just saying.
Bernice, about the voting, there's an issue. We talked about it. Both of the young ladies have mentioned problems and solutions. What are your thoughts?
Now you have to refresh my recollection because we took a long break. So I knew it was going to happen.
Well, since this is on an African network, how are we going to get these Negroes to vote?
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And the bottom line was like, just tell them. I mean, it sounds simpler than it actually is, but it's really just tell them. Like, tell them directly to their face. Like, know what's really going on. I think that at this time in our country, since post Obama, we've talked a little bit offline and on this interview today about this, phenomenon of Obama. And I think people at this point in our history are wondering what happened to our country because of that. And what can we do to possibly get back to that? And we know we can't, because that was a one-time point in our lives. But what can we do to get a little bit better at building a stronger democracy where we're more diverse and have leadership that more reflects our interests? Because we're realizing that when we don't, we have a lot of people unemployed, where we have a pandemic. We had a pandemic because we had a government that didn't care about us as people. And that has pissed off a lot of people. And that's why we have a Biden administration, why people came out in droves, because they wanted to be recognized, they wanted to be heard. And that's really what it comes down to, not just telling them, but understanding why it's important. I know for me, as I run for state's attorney, I'm thinking about the seniors to be protected from abuse or fraud. I'm thinking about the young kids, including the one to date that was a 17-year-old charged for shooting another student, charged as an adult. Another instance where we have a young high school student who is about to get adult conviction if everything is prosecuted correctly. We're losing a generation. And when I explain people that situation, of course they get nervous. Of course they get scared. And they think, okay, well, let me learn about this. If I can get to that point, that's the victory right now. Because I know state's attorney's race with judicial races, they call it the down ballot position, where everyone's focusing on the president and the governor and the big ticket items. But once you explain how a prosecutor can hurt or heal a community with the decisions that they make to file charges, people get that, and people understand how that impacts them, especially with the children right now, especially with the children. The number of ghost guns that are available to the public right now. I was just listening to a press conference this week about the escalation of ghost guns that are being seized by the police. I mean, it was astounding to hear the numbers this week.
Would you want to teach people what a ghost gun is? I want to hear it from your mouth, because I'm a shooter. I'm a gun activist. I carry. I do a lot of things, but I want to hear from a soon-to-be state's attorney of Montgomery County in Maryland what a ghost gun is.
Well, in the simplest explanation, and I say simplest because Delegate Leslie Lopez, who represents Germantown and other parts of Upper Montgomery County, she does an excellent job explaining it. So I know my explanation will never amount to hers. Basically, you can buy pieces of plastic, really, put them together, make it into a gun, and it operates as a gun. It's really that simple, and it's why it's not regulated, because as the pieces are in existence, it's not a firearm. But when you put them together, it operates just like one. And that's why we have leaders like Delegate Lopez, who has endorsed my campaign, fighting to ban them, to regulate them, because it has been a gateway to a big increase in violence. I think especially among our young people, it can be purchased as easily with a credit card. They don't ask for age, they don't ask for proof of income or anything like that. All you need is a credit card to make these purchases, and it comes to your door.
I want to put something as a bee in your bonnet on all three of you that maybe you haven't thought of. I haven't been a shooter my whole life. It doesn't matter. What puzzles me with guns on the street It's not the guns, it's the ammunition. We never really focus on the ammunition. You can have a gun in your house, but if you have no ammunition, it becomes a paperweight. I don't get where all the ammunition's coming from. I buy all my ammunition legally, and the ammunition across the country has been so scarce, very hard to buy. 9mm, 45 caliber, 22, very scarce. Like if it was this scarce to buy milk, we would be in a crazed panic. So where are the bullets coming from? Where are the cartridges coming from? This has not been talked about nationally, state, which puzzles me. What do you think is going on? And I know this is speculation, Fatma. What do you think is going on?
Looks like you're on mute. Yes.
It would be hard for me to say.
Right. I mean,
because I how do I put it? Because this is the thing. I don't think anyone who is, like, we don't have people like you advising people on guns and gun usage and things of that nature. Because I sure didn't know it was hard to find ammunition. So if I don't know that, there's no way I can bring up the issue.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not sure that elected officials who care about gun violence or gun control are knowledgeable about the difficulties that you're speaking of and trying to figure out why and how is it easily accessible to those who are committing these crimes, especially with children. Where are they getting from and where are they getting it from and how are they getting it? So that may be something where people like yourself, who is knowledgeable about these things, to put it out there, bring it to the attention of those who are advocating for the control of, gun violence control, gun control, or sensible gun control. So maybe you can proffer an analysis of not just gun control, but maybe control of the ammunition.
I actually have I have a theory, but I'm not going to do this on air, but I would talk about it off air with specifically Bernice and all of you, because I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but Bernice, what do you think is going on when it comes to ammunition? Where is this ammunition coming from?
Well, I mean, to answer that question, it's really going to involve seeking the knowledge of several stakeholders, right? Like the police departments, Bureau of Tobacco and Firearms, ATF, Congress, because it's a multifaceted issue regarding trade, right? The trade of this, like where people are getting access to this product through the commerce streams that we have. So that's really going to require more on my end to have these conversations, and that's really what the beautiful part about being an elected official, that you get to have these conversations directly with them and come to the constituents and the residents about what's going on, provide that information, because that's something that's not easily accessible as just a resident. But when you are elected, when you are a position of power, when you have a seat at the table, you can ask these questions and get the answers directly to the residents. And right now we don't have that. We have a lot of secrecy, a lot of lack of transparency, and a lot of good old-fashioned things are behind the closed doors conversations. When people want to know what's the root cause of it all, and questions like yours, like where the ammunition is coming from, is part of those discussions where we have to deal with what's the root cause of this rising crime.
I'm going to ask you all the same question and think about your answer. I'm going to start with Marilyn Pierre, who's running for Circuit Court Judge in Montgomery County, Maryland. And the reason I'm about to say that because this podcast goes across the country. Marilyn, why don't they want you to win?
Well, as human beings, we don't like change. there are certain people who are in positions of power and they don't want to give that power up. And when you ask a question, we talked a lot last year about diversity. We talked a lot about how things need to change, but you notice the pushback. There has been pushback and nothing has actually gotten done. And I'm looking at it and I'm trying not to be pessimistic, but it looks like we have actually gone backwards in terms of the progress that we were making before 2020. And the reason why I say that is because now it's difficult to have a conversation with someone and have them actually hear you, as opposed to what they want to hear. It used to be, we used to be able to have conversations, not with everybody, but with a majority of folks who, you say something, they say something, you say something, they say something, you know, it's a conversation, a back and forth. And the hope is, even if you did not change the person's mind, you at least were heard. Now it's as if we're talking at each other. We're not talking with each other. And that makes it really hard. And I had a law school professor who talked about the pendulum and how sometimes the pendulum swings from one side to the other. And I think that's what has happened. I think the pendulum has swung so much to the other side that we're not actually listening to one another. And that's why there's so much discussion of race politics, because we're running to represent everybody. We're not running to represent, I'm sorry, I shouldn't speak.
Right.
I speak a lot in terms of we, because I'm in court and it's my client and I, so it's we. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak for anybody here, but you know, I'm running to represent everybody. I'm running so that I don't have to look at your race to make a decision. If you have done something, you need to be held accountable, and I will hold you accountable no matter what you look like. And I'm running because I see certain people who look a certain way being held accountable, and I see other people who look another way who are not being held accountable. And that's a problem for me, because I have wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was 12 years old, because I was inspired by Thurgood Marshall. And because when he represented people, he didn't look at the color and say, I'm representing you, because he saw injustices and he represented people based on the injustices that he saw, which is why he was, I think he wrote the Constitution for Nigeria, I think. He wrote the Constitution for one of the African countries because he did not do things based on, I'm Black, so I'm going to represent Black people. No, he said, you know, I am who I am, and I am going to represent justice. And that's really what I'm aiming for. And I talk a lot about race because in this country, race matters, but that's not the only thing that I will represent. I will represent people.
Thank you. I wrote an article, and I write for several different magazines, health journals, whatever. It's called The New Reconstruction. And I really believe that that's what we're in right now. And I believe when Bernice said that we're in this pinnacle time, I really believe I'm also on that level of, we are in this pinnacle time, and there is a new reconstruction. And in Reconstruction, Fatima, that there's a pushback of people. We know that past Reconstruction, there were more hangings and lynchings because of the things that came out of after the Civil War. I think Obama was our Civil War, and I think this is our Reconstruction. So I think there's more lynchings and hangings that are going on systematically. And now you're in the fight to say, we can stop this. What do you say about that?
Talking about Bernice.
You.
Good question.
Oh, okay. So it always comes back, as far as I'm concerned, it always comes back to making sure that, this is the thing, I think for too long, we ask for acceptance, right? We ask for acceptance. We ask for, we almost ask for people to like us and want to see the worth in us. But the one thing that I've always thought of is that when we shift away from that, because I think that's what happened over the summer, when we shift away from, here I am, I'm really good, I'm really smart, I'm really intelligent, and I'm really not a bad person. So, accept me into your fold. When we shift away from that and we focus on this is what we need, this is how we want it, and we're demanding this, that's when things start to shift. And that's what happened over the summer after George Floyd's murder took place. When the pendulum changed from asking to demanding that we can no longer just sit and accept that our lives are expendable. We can no longer sit and accept that we have to take the crumbs when you're done. Because that's what happened, right? Even with the 1965 voting rights, it's not as if they went begging for it. It's, listen, this is what needs to happen, and this is what we're demanding. We want. We always make the statement of, what is it? Power concedes nothing. It doesn't. Power concedes nothing. So until and unless we demand it, we will not get it. And at this stage is where we need to continue the demand for what we know is rightfully ours. We're not asking anyone to give us anything. We're saying this is what we should have, just like everybody else. It's no different. This is what we should have, and this is what we're demanding that we have. And that's, I think that's where we should be at this stage. And I'm seeing bits of it. I'm really seeing.
Me too.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the coming out of the gate of, we're supposed to have this. We're not asking you to do anything for us. And I saw an analogy, because I know earlier we talked about how do you get the white people to vote for you, and you don't look like if you're only there to represent your people, right?
Right.
I saw a discussion about the pandemic, right? And relating to something almost to this effect of, and I think it was either a doctor or one of the pundits made this comparison. He said, when the pandemic hit and we realized that a lot of our seniors, a lot of our elders in the nursing homes were dying at a faster rate than any other group, when that became very evident, it became time for the vaccine. We had to make sure we got it to them first. Why? Because they were the most vulnerable population, and we have to protect the most vulnerable population. And once we balance that out, then we start giving it out in different, but did that mean that we didn't care about the younger population? No, it didn't mean that. Did that mean that we didn't want to take care of the younger population? No.
Are you trying to legislate morality?
Can you guys hear me?
Not morality, equity and inclusion. Equity and proper treatment
you guys hear
of
me
the
at
people
all?
and what they put in. Equity demands that if you get a ladder, but you had taken all the rungs out of my ladder, we are not equal. You may say we both have a ladder, we're not equal. So which means we're not going to get to the top at the same rate, or even have the opportunity to get to the top at the same rate. So it's not about morality. It's about
can you hear me?
We all put in our.
You can hear me?
Now we can.
Okay.
Now we can.
Fatima, I want to jump in real quick. You said something when you're talking as far as the pendulum shifting and what happened this summer and all this wonderful stuff, that we demanded things. Now, we couldn't even get John Lewis's voting rights bill out of the box. Mm-hmm. We could not get we could not get,
the George Floyd.
the Floyd
Police
no,
accountability.
the police accountability bill out of the box. I mean, I'm so emotional about this because we have demanded things forever in this country, okay? Let's be real. Blacks in this country have demanded things forever. Black Panthers demanded things. Civil rights demanded things. And let me tell you something. There has been that needle has moved 1 inch and it goes back 10 inches. So this whole thing of we got to demand. Not one state voted for the criminal justice reform bill in their states after everything we saw. And in the state that George Floyd got killed, got murdered. So we got to do better. And we as Black folks need to understand we got to do better. And we cannot look at what happened this summer and say the pendulum, we demanded something. We didn't demand anything to happen for us. Soon as we had this new administration come in,
Dr. Yvette,
there was an Asian hate bill put through.
Hold on. Before you go there, I have a problem with what you're saying, Dr. Yvette, is because it's not what isn't being done. It's what the people are not coming to the polls and saying what needs to be done. So,
and that's what we got to figure out. How can we get people to the polls? What do we need to do?
Yeah, but this is not a seesaw where if we do this, we get this. We can't even get them to the damn polls.
And so that's where it really boils down to. We need to start thinking how we can collectively organize ourselves. And let me tell you, there was organizations put in place that worked. People got, especially I'm from Oakland, California. Things change in Oakland, and I says, and I'm at the end of the Black Panther era. My brother was involved in that era, and my mother moved us from Oakland to San Jose because all of a sudden, just Black men just missing. But things really start moving during the Black Panther era, and that alarmed everyone. We have to collectively start pulling ourselves together.
They were also carrying guns. They were also carrying guns. Things move. Black people start carrying guns. Things are going to move.
Yeah, well, I believe in carrying guns. I believe in my First Amendment. I believe
we just have no bullets.
And there's no ammunition. You can't get it anywhere. You can't get ammunition anywhere. And this whole thing will take their guns away. No, I don't believe in taking their guns away. I believe in educating people on how to use guns and knowing that gun is a tool and not a weapon. It's a tool that you can have in your home if you know how to use a tool, but teaching them how to use that tool. But one big thing is organizing.
I'm going to ask people.
Well, if I could say one more thing, I think it's something that I hear you, Dr. Butler, about organizing, but it's also being authentic as to who you are and expressing the authenticity and identifying yourself. We talked about the Black Panthers. They were authentic in who they were. They identified themselves. So it's not just organizing, but you have to be real about who you are. I mean, I have to be real that I am not from money, that my dad came to this country in 1968, the year Dr. King was assassinated. I have to be real about that story. I don't tell it often, because when you are in a county like I grew up in Montgomery County, you have to assimilate to survive.
You're right.
Well, we're at a point right now where the assimilation, that mentality is waning because it's not leading to survival, right? No. It's I think about George Floyd, for instance, how he was trying to survive and assimilate and do what he had to do. And he's dead, right? Because someone called the police on him over his own poverty issues, right? And I'm digressing a little bit, but the main part is not just organizing, but being authentic about who you are and sharing the authenticity with other people so they can let their guard down and say, yes, I am who I am, and I'm ready to go forward and move forward and protect myself, not just myself, but my children, my children's children, and our community.
For all the people listening to this, if you're Black, I want to say that I want you to chime in wherever your social media is and say, I will vote. If I can just, and I know it's like a like, and can you really believe these idiots who hit a thumb button? Will they really come out and say what they're going to do? Well, appease me and say, yes, you're going to go vote. Bernice, my last question to you is about the 14th Amendment. I'm going to take you back to law school. The issue I have with the 14th Amendment is that it was never truly defended. it sent it upon the states to adhere to creating blacks and making them criminals. When it made it into the national court, the Supreme Court, saying they were protected, but it kicked it back to the states, now allowing to protect the citizens. As you being a state's attorney, how do you feel about that 14th Amendment and it not being really truly upheld?
Well, we're talking about 14th Amendment, we're talking about the Equal Protection Clause, and it is one of the amendments that I know, remember in law school, I was always frustrated about. I remember reading the case law and like, really? But the 14th Amendment says this, it's supposed to, equal protection.
What's up? What's up?
What's up with that, right? And it's law, and it's still there. But it just propelled me to have a more equitable lens as how I'm going to be a lawyer. I remember just thinking that it was my first year of law school, and we're doing constitutional law. Like, this is awful. What can we do as social engineers, right? I know Marilyn and I went to Howard Law. What can we do as social engineers to change that? And that's why I went into prosecution. I don't want to be the one, protesting the issues. I wanted to be the one making those decisions. So that's why after I clerked for 2 judges, I went on to be a prosecutor. And I remember I wrestled with that because, mass incarceration has always been an issue. And I remember that in college, having these conversations with other attorneys that I worked for. I actually worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office in college. So I was exposed to prosecution at a very early age and the injustices that can go on. And it wasn't until, though, I was a line prosecutor, I really saw inequitable treatment in the system. I really saw, Latinos, for instance, getting maximum sentences for driving without a license. And at the time when it was incarcerable, because they had no way to get a license, right? Because of the laws in place. And those inequitable moments just frustrated me and infuriated me. And it's why I actually left the prosecutor's office to go into private practice, thinking I can change the lens that way. But I think we're at a time right now in criminal justice where we're willing to have reform-minded prosecutors and to really have prosecutors think outside the box when it comes to equity and equal access to fair treatment in the system, to diversion courts, for instance, actually being intentional about giving everyone equal opportunity to restore themselves, to get back into society successfully and not have the system harm them for a particular moment in time, and to have victims be made whole as best as possible through the tools that we have as prosecutors. So it weighs on me a lot, and it's why I'm very pro equity and pro fair access in everything I do.
I really had an enjoyable time.
One second, Paul. Since we had problems earlier on, we're getting a little bit more time to have our candidates on and to really talk more. But I had a question that came through on Facebook Live, and they want to know, why is it important to vote? And that's a question they said for all three. If you guys just quickly give a one-liner, why is it important to vote? Because people need to know. We say go out and vote, but why is it truly important to vote? And so, Marilyn, you want to start? Because they said give a one-liner. They want each person to really answer that question for them.
I think it's important to, thank you very much. I think that is an excellent question. I think it's important to vote because I think choice is extremely important. I'm amazed sometimes because you don't send somebody to the store to get you ice cream without telling them what flavor ice cream that you want. But yet, sometimes people say, oh yeah, well, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It really matters who you vote for. And it really matters that you vote. And on top of, it's not just voting though. It matters that you hold a person accountable for what they said that they're going to do. Because just voting alone is not going to get us to where we need to be. We need to hold whoever gets that position accountable for what we pay them for. We paid them to do a certain job, and if they're not doing it, we need to replace them. And in the meantime, since it's hard to replace them, we need to hold them accountable. And I think that's why it's very important to vote, and it's very important to follow up after that vote with making sure that the person who is in that position is held accountable.
Mata?
Simply put, it's your life, it's your livelihood, it's your children's life, it's your voice, it's your choice, And it's your being that's on the line. You vote, you allow people into office who decide all these things for you. Everything from the pothole to who teaches your child to who decides what you're going to have on your plate to eat, what you're going to have in the stores to even buy, what menu you're going to have at your restaurant to eat. These are people who are sitting somewhere making these decisions. So it's your life, your choice, your children's life, your being that should make you realize how important it is for you to go and vote, because that should be part of your instinct to protect yourself. So you should want somebody there who serves your best interest and your family's best interest.
So my one sentence would be: voting is the pathway to freedom, economic freedom, social freedom. It is not the freedom itself; it's a pathway. So we have to continually vote. We have to continue to show up at the polls, not just a one-time thing. Obama was our president for 2 terms, but we still have to show up. Okay, because if we don't, then we lose our freedom. That's why the voting rights bill has suffered the way it has in Congress. It's why most of the states in this country have tried to turn back the clock on voting rights, because we are showing up, because we are trying to get to a freer place, a more peaceful place where we can just be in existence.
Dr. Yvette, can I answer that question?
Yeah, and once you answer, I had a comment of why I think it's important too. So yes, please.
Okay. So here's my answers, and it comes in the form of a statement. What nonsense are you thinking asking that stupid question, why it's important to vote? Are you kidding me? If you still have this precedence on your head to ask that question, I need to strap you across my damn knee and beat the daylights out of you, because you're asking such a simple, oh my God, it's a horrible question. Because if you're still asking it, that means no one ever taught you. And then it goes back to the education. Did we miss something in your upbringing? Because you've missed a ton of shit in the last 80 years of why it's important to vote. And you're still asking the same damn question? It's ridiculous.
Well, let me
let me just jump in there real quick.
Okay.
I know the person who asked the question actually is a voter, but we really have to tell these young people, Paul, why to vote. And we got to give them a reason to come out and vote. And I don't think any question is a dumb question. I just don't feel that at all. Every question needs to be asked and every question needs to be addressed. There is never a dumb question. And I don't believe in my whole heart that if someone doesn't know something or someone wants to know something, we have to tell them why. We got to tell them why. We can never downplay them and say that was a dumb question, because there's so many people out there who ask that question. And I just want to say the reason why I think it's important to vote, and especially in your local election, because a lot of people come and say, and I've heard them say this, and I'm like, wait a minute, my vote doesn't matter. We came down to here. It was an election here in Montgomery County. And we can talk about our county executive election, just the last one. There was only a difference of less than 200 votes.
I know.
Your votes count. Every single vote in a local election. As now, in the bigger election, because I think they should throw out the whole electoral college. But for your local elections, which we're here today about, our local elections, every single person's vote counts. Never ever think your vote doesn't count. And everyone needs to show up to be counted, to get people in office who we want to be in office. So we got to think back and look at some of the elections. And there was one election here, someone won by 41 votes. So your vote counts. So
Bernice?
Never ever think.
Well, what I was going to add is it's not just the fact that people lack the knowledge, is that people's lives have been uprooted especially in the last 2 years. People are just trying to make sure they have enough money to eat. As of last Sunday, it's been over a year, but I'm down the street from a church. The lines to get free food are still blocks and blocks and blocks down in cars. They wait early just to make sure they get there on time. People got a lot going on in their head where the last thing thinking about is getting to the polls. That's why mail-in ballots have been so critical, because it doesn't require them taking off of work. It doesn't require them, staying in a long line just to vote. Vote's not going to get them their breakfast. Vote's not going to get them their groceries. That's what the people are thinking about when they're asking themselves, why does voting matter? And I think that's what we're dealing with a lot right now in our country, especially with the pandemic and the results of the pandemic.
I know we're going to close with the show, and I'm going to invite you all to another show called You Be the Judge. I know some of you are already slotted for that. Bernice, I know you're already slotted for that. Mm-hmm. And Fatima, I would like for you to come on the show. Please contact Marilyn Pierre. I don't know if you have her email. I'm sure you do. If not, you got to vote for her anyway to be Circuit Court Judge, Montgomery County. But
well,
yes,
I want to have everybody come back on this show again, because I think we really got to
fix this.
More about some of these issues, and I think more people need to hear the three of you wonderful candidates who will hopefully all be in office, so you can make a difference. And we got to hold you to the fire, because what happens, especially with us, we get in office and we go to our special interest group and we forget who put us there. And that's something that I'm hoping that once you three get into office, that you do not forget who put you in office, who supported you and got you there, and really listen to those voices. Even though our voices might be smaller, our voices need to be heard as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, because you all three will. I'm praying we all get into office this year, because I'm gonna be out there stomping the grounds again. So we got to get.
And we're ready. Can I real quick, Dr. Yvette? So I get it, and trust me, I understand the concern. But I think many times for us, I don't think so much that it's especially us that get in there and do a switcheroo. I think it's just certain people who run for a particular reason. So not everybody is running to serve. Many people are running to be in office. Many people are running because there's an opportunity. They see an open door that gives them the chance to be in an office, to hold a political position, to hold a position of power. So it could be anybody. I don't think we're unique as a people in doing switcheroos, because I know many who have gotten in and they did right. Sherry Branson wasn't elected, she was appointed, yes, but when she got in there, she did for the little bit of time she had in there, she did well for our community. She did what she could with what she had. And when she got in a position of in procurement, she addressed the issues dealing with county contracts, and as it relates to people of color and minority-owned businesses. You have those of us who get in there and we do what we're there to do, and we do not forget where we come from. It's a handful of us that don't do that, and but I think that's across the board of those who just want to be in a position. So trust, I know these two ladies, I know myself very well. That is not happening, because everyone here today because I know each woman personally, and the strength of the character speaks for itself, and that will transfer in these positions, God willing, we get in there. So you have nothing to worry about, Dr. Yvette, and everybody else who's listening. You have three amazing Black women here, three amazing women, three amazing people, and you'll be fine.
And I couldn't agree with Fatmata better, because I know Fatmata, I know Bernice, I've known you guys for years, and you are amazing. I could see you in those positions really making progress and really representing the people in the community and achieving equity. And It's a beautiful thing. It makes me want to cry. And I know Dr. Butler as well, that, you are out there fighting the good fight. And now you have Dr. Dyer along with you. I think we're going to make a lot of progress. The V for victory is just waiting for us. So thank you very much for that opportunity. I look forward to coming back with all of you again.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to really everybody in the world that's watching. This is a fabulous journey, and I'm excited about it. You can tell I probably want to just jump in and get into the conversation with you in person, but virtual will do for now until it's safer for all of us to come together. But thank you guys, thank you ladies for stepping up and running. You guys encourage me every day you're out there. You encourage me to keep going, and
Bernice,
I appreciate it.
You're on your Instagram. And
yes, I am.
What are some of the statements, comments? What are the thoughts that you hear or see? Do you want to share some of those?
You know what? I gotta say, I'm getting a lot of waves and supports, but no comments. I think people are just kind of listening in and, getting information. I think we're at a point right now where people are just collecting information and trying to learn about the candidates and what's going on with the issues, right? Because local politics is not always the hot button topic on a Friday night, but hopefully this Instagram Live will allow people to learn a little bit about our campaigns and make an educated decision come election day.
So I know if you haven't mentioned it, how can people support your campaigns, each of you? And let's get that out there before we close up. Fatma?
Okay, so I am Fatmata Barry, Fatmata.
Do I miss the Atta? Do I miss the
Fatmata? I didn't do it just for over 10 years, but it's Fatmata.
Exactly the way it looks. This is how it sounds.
Phonetically.
Three syllables. Bam. See? So Fatmata Berry, I am, there you go. See, this is what happens when you grow up down south. This is what happens. There's a little something in you that just kind of.
What part of the South?
South Florida, West Palm.
West Palm? Are you allowed back? Are you allowed back? Do you go back?
Probably not. Of course, I'm always allowed. I am a very loved individual, loved person, always allowed in every setting, no matter what. Even if you disagree with me, you still like me. So you can reach me, fatmatabarry.com, FATMATABARRIE. We have a IG account, Instagram account, and I think it's Barry for County Council. We're on Facebook a lot, and we have a Twitter account also. My email is info@fatmatabarry.com is the general email, and we are always available for everyone to come with us. Tomorrow is my official campaign launch at the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. We're having a mini march from Jackson Road Elementary School to the park itself. And we're marching into the new year with new and stronger representation for you and our district. So come on out, help us blow it out and show it. I look forward to seeing anyone who can make it, but we also have a Zoom link in case you can't make it there in person. Make sure you wear a mask, get vaxxed, because it's needed so we can save our lives and save the lives of our loved ones. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening and taking the time to learn a little bit more about us. Really, really appreciate you. And hopefully we'll be back. And good night.
And Bernice, how can we get a hold of you?
My website and social media handles, MIREKU North. MIREKU North. MIREKU North. Because you guys say at least 3 times for people to remember.
Yeah.
And that's my website.
Yeah.
My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the same. And my email address is bernice@MIREKU MIEKUNorth.com. That's it. One thing I forgot to mention, because my campaign manager will hit me over the head if I didn't, is that I have a fundraiser tomorrow, a virtual fundraiser at 4 p.m. where we're going to be...
Wait a minute, you were going to forget about the money?
Well, I always ask about the money, but the event...
You almost left. You almost left. You almost took off and forgot to ask about the money.
Well, that's a whole nother topic about money. We didn't get into that tonight, which we really should have, but that's a whole nother issue.
We need
money.
Yes,
always need money.
Thank you.
I have a virtual fundraiser tomorrow at 4. I will be sharing one of my Ghanaian recipes. So if you reach me at MIREKUNorth.com or email me at Bernice at...
Time out. You said you cook.
Yes. I had to. During quarantine,
that's how you get black men. Let's talk about food. Screw all that state's attorney mess. Let's talk about some food.
Well, you know what? I wanted to jump in there. Now I talk about food. She said Ghanaian recipe. And let me tell you, there's on Facebook, there's several people from Ghana who are watching you tonight. So we're like, hey, if you can vote from Ghana, make sure you send your absentee ballots in. If you're stuck over there, send them on in. So send them on.
It's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I think it's about a 5-hour difference. So I might be asleep by then, but that's okay.
People over there watching this late at night, which is crazy. This late at night, Bernice, there's people from Ghana watching you.
People are still up. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe, but yes, money is definitely doesn't come easy especially for Black women candidates. And I know we didn't talk about that tonight, but that's a big issue. But that's why I'm having the fundraisers, and that's why we're going out meeting people. Grassroots fundraising is really critical for all of us. So whether it's get everybody in your church or place of worship to after they finish service, offer a few dollars to the candidates, things like that is really going to go a long way, as well as joining fundraisers like mine or helping with Famata support her candidacy or Marilyn. We all have different ways of raising money, and this is just one of my ways of, adding to the coffer.
Marilyn?
Love it. I should join you to do some Australian cooking. Hey.
Yeah,
get some cook-off.
Well, my mouth is watering because I keep wondering if I'm going to get some groundnut stew with fufu. So yay!
I'm too quick.
Yes. Okay. I know we have to go. I love this. We're just partying right now. My website is pierreforjudge.com. 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 I'm learning from Bernice.
Yeah, you got to say it 3 times.
So any money that you have, any volunteerism that you want to do, just anything at all that you would like to contribute, any questions that you have, anything that you might need help with that you think I might be able to help you with, just give me a call, contact me. My email address, my telephone number, my the campaign's mailing address, they're all on the pierreforjudge.com website. So please reach out to me. I would really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I feel saddened that we have to leave soon.
But we're going to have all 3 of you back on. And as Bernice was saying, our next state's attorney, as she was saying, funding. We really have to talk about funding and how we can get support for you in your candidacies, because that is a needed thing. And we don't, and I don't believe and I don't think people understand that every little dollar counts. If you can find 5, 10,
we also
every
know
little
it has to be legal. It has to be legal, because otherwise we'll just throw Bernice in jail. Marilyn be right there along with her, and there's no way. And then we're right back to our Marilyn Mosby issue. So we got to make sure that we do it right.
Right.
They're waiting for us to do it wrong.
That's right.
Yes, yes. So we will come back on and have a discussion just about funding, so we can push this candidacy. And because we have voting comes in just how many months now?
Less than 6 months.
In June.
June 28th
Less
than
is the
6
primary
months,
day.
everyone.
Early voting June 16th.
Primaries in June. So
Mhm.
we're really excited. Next week, we're gonna talk about
And
the voting. We're gonna get more into the Voting Rights Act. We're gonna talk more about how, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And in Montgomery County, the primary is the election. So which means you need to be registered as a Democrat or Republican for you to have a say in who is being elected. There's no such thing as independent in the state of Maryland. You're either a Democrat or Republican or unaffiliated. If you're unaffiliated, you cannot vote in the primary. And in our county,
except for
because
school
of the Democrat are the people who vote to elect the elected officials. So I would humbly ask you, if you like any of us, register as a Democrat, because when come June 28th or up to June 28th, including early voting, if you want to vote for any of us, you have to be registered as a Democrat. So we're asking you for that because we have what's called closed primary.
Right.
That means only Democrat can vote for Democrats, only Republicans can vote for Republicans. But that's all I wanted to put in there as we leave out.
No, but
And
thank
we
you
have
so much.
until
And there's
June
so many
7th
of
to
us
register.
who are independent. So everyone out there who are independent, if you want these 3 Black beautiful women in office, please, you can change your party as well. So you can change your party over to vote.
Check a box.
So please
check a box.
Consider that, because independent in this state, you're really independent. You don't have a vote. You don't have a say into general election. So remember, if you're not registered, to please register to vote. If you are registered as independent, if you want to vote for these 3 young ladies, please declare a party and check that box. And we will definitely have them back on again. I want to thank Dr. Dyer. I want to thank you so much for being here today. And we're going to have you back on when we do our political stuff, because let me tell you, you held it together when I had all this technical stuff going on back here. So I want to thank you again. And we're going to have to have you back on real soon, because it's election season. It's kicking off.
Well,
and so we got to get ourselves together.
This
and
show
see
actually
how.
helped me get. This show actually helped me get away from my shyness. So.
Oh, well, good. And so on behalf of AAU, we want to thank everyone out there who stayed with us and watched the show. And then on behalf of, and we want to thank Afrique Today for allowing this opportunity to come to you today in this format so that you can hear from the candidates and a little bit about voting rights. So we're going to get more into that next week. So if you want to know more about voting rights, we're going to have a lot more about voting rights, as well as how to register to vote. That's all we're going to talk about. So please, we need for you to tune in. We need for you to share it, because we need everyone who's out there who's not registered to register, and we need your vote. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.